Hey guys, how are you all? My name is Harshit Dwivedi, friends, and I welcome you back to my video. So in this video, friends, in a very short amount of time, I am going to tell you that what is this Representation of People Act 1950 and Representation of People Act 1951. Now, detailed analysis of both of these acts I am not going to do, because if you are going to get into detail, friends, then it becomes very, very big. So a slight idea about what this RPA Act of 1950 and 1951 is. So if you want to follow me, friends, my name is Harshit Dwivedi. The link of my Instagram profile is given in the description box below. Now, starting with it, friends, see Article 324 to 329 of Part 15 of our Constitution deals with the electoral system of our country. Okay, now Constitution has allowed Parliament to make certain provisions in all matters with respect to elections of the Parliament and state legislature. And while exercising this power, the Parliament has enacted laws like Representation of People Act of 1950 and 1951, and also Delimitation Commission Act. Okay, friends. So it was first enacted in 1952, and then it was amended and made Delimitation Commission Act of 2002, friends. So basically, these are the acts which have been made, friends. Now see, what this thing is that in this video, friends, we are going to look into Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951. The only difference that you need to know about both of these acts, friends, actual conduct of elections machinery is being dealt with 1951 Act, and all other things are being dealt with 1958. For example, this Representation of People Act 1950, it deals with qualification of voters, preparation of electoral roll, delimitations of constituencies, elections of seats in the parliament and state legislature. See, friends, Article 81 and Article 170 of the Indian Constitution. Now, Article 81 of the Indian Constitution says that what should be the maximum number of seats in the parliament. 170 says what should be the maximum number of seats in the legislative assemblies of the state, and what principles should be followed, friends. That is, the total number of seats of the parliament should be divided among the state legislative assemblies. For example, in the in the parliament, for example, see, friends, in parliament, seats are being decided on the basis of states. So UP is having this much amount of seats, Maharashtra is having this much amounts of seats, Uttar Pradesh is having this much, Andhra Pradesh this much, Telangana this much, Jammu and Kashmir this much. So all the states, according to their population proportion, are having representation in Lok Sabha. So how that representation will be decided and how many seats will be allocated to every states in the Lok Sabha, principles governing that are given in Article 81. So when we talk about that, what should be the number of seats in the legislative council of a state, in legislative assembly of a states, it is talked with respect to Article 170. And when we talk about the maximum and minimum number of seats in the legislative council of a state, then the role of Article 171 comes into play. And slight amount of principles are given that how this maximum and minimum number of this legislative councils, then legislative assemblies, friends, and then the representation of different states in the parliament has to be done. So slight amount of principles are being given in this Article 81, Article 170 and Article 171, but detailed principles are not given. Okay, and how the number of seats will be allotted and how those seats will be filled by election, this has to be decided by a separate law. And in order to decide these things, Representation of People Act 1950 and Representation of People Act 1951 has been brought in. Okay, friends. Now, when we are allotting seats to the House of People, that is Lok Sabha. So when we are allotting seats to different states in the Lok Sabha, or when we are deciding the total number of seats of the legislative assembly of different states, the basic date, the population date, the reference date considered is 1st of March 1950, friends. Okay. Also, the president has been given the power to delimit the constituencies in consultation with the election commission. You know what this delimitation commission is, friend? That one constituency will have how much area. So this is basically delimitation. That is, in a, for example, UP state is having around 80 Lok Sabha seats. So all of those would be having, friends, different, these are 80 constituencies, and those constituencies will have a geographical area, and that geographical area is being done through this, decided through this Delimitation Commission Act, friends. Okay, so obviously, who will implement this Delimitation Commission Act? President, in consultation with the Election Commission of India, friends. Okay, now see what this Representation of People Act 1950 does, friends. Okay, now this act confer on the president the power to delimit. This I have already told you, friends. Okay, also registration of electors for parliamentary constituencies, for the state legislative assembly, and for council constituencies, that is state legislative council constituencies. All of this will be done by this representation of people act. That the electors who are going to vote, what will be their qualifications, whether they are qualified, whether they are disqualified, this will be dealt with according to the provisions of RPA Act 1950. Delimitation of constituencies, I've already talked. Then preparation of electoral rolls is also being done by them, friends. Okay, preparation of electoral rolls, for this election, that this much amount of people's name is are there in the electoral rolls, and they are going to vote while these elections are going on. So electoral rolls will be prepared by the election commission according to the principles and guidelines and the rules given in the representation of people act 1950, friends. Okay, also friends, qualification and disqualification of registrations, this I have already told you. Okay, now see friends, one thing, the act further provided for the registration of electors for parliamentary constituencies, for the assembly and council constituencies, and the qualification and disqualification. So this I have already told you. What should be the allocation of seats, this I have already told you. Okay, this and also friends, legislative council of the states is also covered. So Lok Sabha is covered, legislative assembly is covered, and legislative council is also covered. And this delimitation thing I have already told you, that how the constituencies will be delimited, what amount of geographical area one constituency would be having, everything is detailed in this RPA Act of 1950. Now coming to the representation of people act 1951. Now see friends, representation of people act 1950, this did not contain provisions with respect to actual conduct of the election, friends. Representation of people act 1950 is talking about allocation of seats, delimitation of constituencies, qualifications of voter, preparation of electoral roll. But actually how the elections are going to be conducted on the ground is being told through this representation of people act 1951. Okay, this was being enacted by the Indian Parliament before the first general elections. So they deal with the actual conduct of election. Also, they are going to point out the corrupt practices, election offenses that will happen. Also, election disputes, how they will be dealt with. Principles regarding those are given in this representation of people act 1951, friends. It deals with the qualification and disqualification of the members of both the houses of parliament and the state legislature, that is state legislative council and state legislative assembly both. Okay, so this is happening. So obviously qualifications and disqualifications of both parliament and state legislature, which includes Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha, state legislative assembly and state legislative council. Then notification of general elections will be done according to the scheme mentioned in this RPA 1951. How the administrative machinery for the conduct of elections will be decided will be also told by this. Registration of political parties, how actual conduct of elections, this I have told you. Free supply of certain materials to candidates of recognized political parties, disputes regarding elections, corrupt practices and electoral offences. So 1950 was the initial start in which the qualification of voters, preparation of electoral loads, type of these things, delimitation of constituencies, allocation of seats were being decided, and how the conduct of election would be there, how the candidates will be disqualified. Okay, how the administrative machine is going to function, how corrupt practices can be removed, how the election can be conducted more effectively and impartially. So all of these things are covered in RPA 1951. So a very short video, friends. All the general basic things I've told you, not very specific provisions I'm covering. If there is any important specific provision, I will cover it separately. So thank you for watching this video, friends. Please like this video, subscribe this video, comment on this video. You can also dislike, but please tell me why you didn't like it. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.